Okay, I'm going to call this meeting of the New Philadelphia City Council Finance Committee to order. I have already written down that our committee members are here, Mr. Kreinbill, myself, Mr. Lancer, and our alternate, Ms. Ramos. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the floor over to our esteemed colleagues from the municipal court to show us what they have here on capital needs.
Good evening, everyone. Finance Committee, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to present to you tonight. You need something?
He wanted to make sure we turned the mic on.
Mic is on. We did a dry run earlier. We thank you for this opportunity. I am Judith Ziegel. I am the court administrator at the New Philadelphia Municipal Court. I have been in that position for almost 22 years. My esteemed colleague, Julie Stamitz, is the clerk of our court. She has been with the court, it'll be 25 years in April. So we've submitted a few budgets. We've inhabited that building next door, and we want to present to you where we're at with the building and the crossroads that we're at as a municipal court for the city, for council, and seeing where we can go forward. So a little history on the building, on our funding, and we will take questions. If we have answers tonight, we'll try to answer them. If we don't, we will get back to you if we can get that information. Again, thank you for your time. This is the first, I'm sure some of you have seen this picture, the first municipal court building, the old Eagles building. Fire Inspector Schultz told us the other day that part of this building is still in existence because it connects our building with the old fire station somewhere in a wall. So I guess there's some history there. This is the current building that we are in. It was built, it'll be 75 years old this year. The court actually is having its 50th anniversary this year as well. And we've been in that location the entire time. I believe it was about 2000, 2003 that City Hall moved here, and that building was dedicated to the court's exclusive use. Our building is not aged well, as many municipal buildings have not. A 75-year-old building has not been well maintained, and by that I mean somewhat like we do with our own homes. We wait till it breaks to fix it instead of being proactive in, well, do we need the windows replaced now, or should we wait till they start leaking? It's a heavily used building. Court customers, jurors, attorneys, law enforcement, probationers, and of course our employees are all inhabitants of the building. It is a city-owned building. The city is our legislative and fiscal authority, and that is pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code and how we were created statutorily. Because of that, part of that revised code section says that the legislative authority of the municipal court shall provide suitable accommodations for the court and its officers. There needs to be adequate resources to do what we do, which is administer due process and justice for our residents. The budgetary standard request is reasonable and necessary, which is determined by the court. What this means is that the court can submit a budget to the legislative fiscal authority, to council and the mayor, and as long as it is reasonable and necessary, it is presumed to be reasonable. There, of course, has been litigation over the years from a number of different courts around the state. This is still a standard. Reasonable and necessary is still a standard. And it becomes incumbent upon the legislative authority to prove that the court is not submitting a reasonable and necessary request. And this is, again, just by way of background. The Ohio Supreme Court also has court facility standards and security standards which courts are required or aspired to follow for public access and security. We have unique access and security needs. However, I recognize that most public buildings in this day and age also may have different security needs than we had 50 years ago. That's just the reality of our society and environment now. We currently do not meet all those standards. We tried to have years gone by, and a cubby came available. We were able to put in a holding cell for prisoners. That is a standard that the Supreme Court has. The revised code also allows for the creation of special project funds and other court funds, which can be used for specific court purposes, as well as building projects. And we have done that. I will tell you that there have been some courts over the years that had assessed a special projects fee, and it was not touched until it amassed, $5 million where they could begin construction of a new building. We have that fund, but we have not utilized it in that way. But as far as how we are funded, I think it'd be a good time to touch on that. We receive funding from various sources. We get about little over 8% from the state. We get 11% from the county. The city general fund gives us almost 37%. We use court funds to fund almost 43% of our operations. And then there's under 1% that falls into the other category. That, in this budget, operating expenses has been assistance that we've gotten from the Adams Board to provide for some drug testing for our probationers and some about $2,000 in administrative fees. Here's just another version of that breakdown. So operating expenses for 2024, these are the percentages that it takes to operate the court and the different funding sources. But a little more about court funds, because I think they might be perceived as a little bit of a mystery. And we have 11 of them to show you how confusing it can be. They're authorized by the Ohio Revised Code. We're allowed to establish what we call court funds. And these are fees that are assessed in certain types of cases that are then deposited into these designated funds. I will get to the specific funds in a minute, but for example, we have a designated domestic violence fund. If you're a person charged with domestic violence offense, we charge you $50, which allows us to, those cases maybe require a little bit more as far as probation oversight or court hearings. So we assess a fee on that offender, and we use that money for domestic violence training and related purposes. They're utilized for, like I said, specific court programs and operations, and they are under the court's authority. These funds are not part of the city general fund. There is a portion of costs that we collect in every case that do go to the city, to the general fund. As the city is our fiscal authority, generally someone comes in and pays money on their case. Our bookkeeper breaks out those funds. Beginning of every month, she sends a check to Ms. Denham and says, here's the breakdown and here's where the funds go. These funds are part of the budget that we send to you. We budget for them. You as council appropriate them per our request, but they are under the court's discretion and authority to spend. And we have used them for many things over the years, recognizing over the years, certain years have been tighter budgets with the city than others, and we believe we've always have tried to be fiscally responsible with not just general funds, but also the court funds, and judicious in our expenditures. As I said, we have 11 court funds. I'll go through them quickly because they are specific purposes. Some of them are a little more generalized. Computer funds are exclusively for the computerization of the court. Our probation funds are because we assess fees if you are put on probation. Those funds help fund the probation department, their salaries, benefits, programming that they do. I mentioned earlier the Domestic Violence Fund. That's assessed exclusively in domestic violence cases. Dispute Resolution Fund is a fee that we charge on cases and use that to resolve cases without trial. When we have a more active caseload in bad check cases or income tax cases, we try to use dispute resolution processes to resolve those without a trial. The Criminal Diversion Program is a program that we have for first-time offenders to have their record go away and have their case dismissed if they are charged with underage drinking. Used to be marijuana, but that's kind of been decriminalized to the point where it's not relative to the program. But those people are in that program, pay a $200 fee for the privilege of being in the program, doing what's required of them, and then having their case dismissed. We have a payment plan where we allow people to have some time to pay on their court case, and we charge a $25 fee to defray the costs of administering that program. We have a legal research fund, which we use to pay for our computerized legal research services. Currently, we use Lexis. We do pay a portion of salaries with that. The Special Projects Fund is our largest fund. It's one of our oldest funds that courts were permitted to create. And that is, my term is that it's the Swiss Army knife of what we can use it for. Almost, you name it, we can use it for, we can use special projects funds for that purpose. We have used it for the building, we've used it for equipment. We use a large amount of it to meet payroll to not burden the general fund. And we use it for other services as needed. If we don't know where to pay for it from, we usually look at special projects. CLOCs you may have heard of and may be familiar with because this council, revised code allows us to ask someone if they would like to pay off their community. We want to give you 10 hours of community service to do as part of your sentence on your offense. We then offer that person the opportunity to pay that off at $10 an hour instead of working it off. People who choose to do that, and of course it's up to the court to even allow that, goes into a CLOCs fund, which by statute originally was supposed to go to the general fund. We approached council in 2016 to say, we administer this fund, we set this up in court, we follow these people to see if they've paid, we've administered this program, and we need a little more funding to, at that time it was probation costs that were hurting us. This fund is split between the county and the city, depending on how much we're funded. As I showed you earlier, the county funds about 11% of our budget, so they get, that percentage of the CLOCs. For them, it usually runs about between $15,000 and $20,000 annually. Council did, by resolution in 2016, let us take over that fund. It is now a court fund, and we do use that for the building, for probation services, and over the years, we've tried to let it build up, knowing that bigger expense building issues were certainly coming along. The IDAT and IDAM funds are funds we receive in cases where someone's been charged with an OVI. Those are very limited as to what we can use those for, but if you're indigent and you need alcohol or addiction treatment services and cannot afford it, we can use funds from those, we can use those funds to pay for that. Someone would have to file a motion with the court, we would have to approve it, and then authorize that payment. Just recently, the state legislature gave us permission to pay part of our specialized docket coordinator out of that fund, so we pay about 40% of our specialized docket person from that IDAT fund. The IDAM fund is about the same, slightly different, only that we use it for immobilizing and disabling devices for indigent OVI offenders. Any questions about our 11 court funds? Yes, sir.
Just a quick one, on the C-locks, what, I mean, I know it's 43%, what would be, I mean, if it was 11% was to the county, you said about $10,000?
Yeah, you're asking, I think you're asking what did it generate?
What did it generate, what it would have generated for the city per year, kind of average?
During COVID, it was about 68,000. It usually is about $110,000 a year,
Okay.
from my memory. I'll correct myself if I
Yeah.
need to. Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Ramos?
Could you just clarify, Judy, why we give 11% of that back to the county? You said that some funding comes from the county, about 11%.
Well,
Do we reimburse them?
No, we don't reimburse them. The way the statute reads, actually, for the, CLOC stands for Contributions in Lieu of Community Service. So, and the way it reads in the statute, that has to be divided between the general fund of the city and the general fund of the county, depending on their proportionate share of funding. So it changes every year. When we do the final budgets, usually in April, I send a letter to the auditor at the county and say, here's the percentage. But the distinction is, at the same time we approached council to let us manage that fund because we administer that program, we also approached the county commissioners with the same message. They declined to allow that to be a court fund and wanted it maintained as a contribution to their general fund, but we did approach them, if that answers your question.
Yeah, when was the last time you approached them?
It would have been probably 2017, 2018,
Okay.
shortly after this council approved it. And I can correct those numbers, it changes every year.
Who sets the $10? Is that like
The
a,
court set that,
the court,
yes.
is that locally or is that,
No, well, actually, community service wages used to be like tied to minimum wage, and Judge Von Allman said enough, flat rate, $10. We have not revisited it, but we didn't want to change it every year with the minimum wage either. But that's how we established that, the judge established it.
when was that set? That the $10?
The $10 was probably set in about 2016, if not before that. Mayor?
Judy, can you explain the process of how the court charges other townships and municipalities in the district for use of the court? And I know that's tracked by the city auditor, but I'm looking at that, I'm wondering, are those fees established by the ORC, or is there any flexibility there of maybe increasing it because of the use of the building?
Which, specific fee, Mayor, or,
Well, Heather, maybe you can help me out here. The auditor is supposed to review once a year or twice a year? I'd have to go back and look. Once a year? Okay. Oh, Marv's there, thanks. Yeah, once a year, the use of all the townships and municipalities in the district, and then we bill them for the use of the court.
yes, and that's established in the Ohio Revised Code, which created our court. saying that the participating jurisdictions need to contribute to the court. And the auditor does track that. It is also based on the number of cases that they have filed in our court. Dover has more than Strasburg. Zor, on a good year, we might get one case.
Yeah, so is there a fee there, a flat fee that's charged, or,
The court fees that we assess are charged per case. There was litigation in Ohio saying some courts were getting rich because they were charging it per charge. And by that, the distinction is, you got a criminal case and it's disorderly conduct and criminal trespass, and you have an A charge and a B charge and a C charge. Courts were getting very well off by charging it per charge instead of per case. So we are clear on how we can charge those, and we charge them per case, if that
okay, so
answers your
who
question.
sets the fee on the case?
The court does, but also the statute, some revised code provisions, computer fee, for example, says it can be $5 per case. The statute
Okay,
says
so
$5.
there is flexibility there to raise the fee.
There is.
Okay.
And we, in all honesty, Mayor, discussed that to say, we can charge $200 more a case, but if somebody cannot pay the first
Right.
$100,
Yeah, I understand that,
you know,
yeah.
so there's that diminishing return. I don't know the sweet spot really. Payments to the court, we do know after all these years are economy related. COVID, all the courts took a hit. I'm sure city tax revenues probably did as well. So we do kind of go with the ebb and flow. Caseloads are down 14% over, the 24 caseloads are down 14% from the previous year. We're not sure why. But our look at that is a little limited, because we're not going to each law enforcement jurisdiction
Right.
or OSP and saying, it's not our job to say how many tickets
Yeah,
are you
You
writing.
can't go there and say, you guys need to do a
Not our
better
job,
job.
not
We
our
need more
job.
people in this court. Yeah,
But, and I apologize right now because Julie does have hard copies of this presentation. If anybody wants one, right now, she can hand it to you, or afterwards, either way.
Perfect. Do you want one?
John, do you want? Yes.
Apologies. Our capital, Ms. Ramos, yes.
Oh, sorry. So you charge the jurisdiction and the person who's court involved? or
We
both?
charge per case, and Heather, I'm not sure what data are you using to calculate what the jurisdictions are?
I started looking at that, and I haven't got to go all the way through it, but it looked like she was just taking the revenue minus the expenses, and then however many court cases, take whatever that percentage of court cases is, that's the percent that they would charge each.
Yes,
city.
they're supposed to pay a proportionate share of the operating costs of the court. And the
Okay.
auditor has always sent those to the jurisdictions.
Okay,
I'm least familiar with that
so
aspect
the
of it.
person and the jurisdiction pays.
The person would be paying towards the court funds
Good,
and local
court, okay.
costs, yes. And with the 11 court funds, our funding is a lot of alchemy.
yeah.
Our capital improvement request, and I do want to preface this by saying, times have changed since I began working on this presentation in November. The mayor asks us to start working on budgets in September, October, and we all know how hard it is to project what could befall us the following year, but we do try. What we have come up with, saving in our court funds in special projects and CLOCs, was asking that $300,000 be appropriated toward capital improvement projects. The reason I'm here tonight is that we're also asking for $300,000 from the general fund. However, and a big but, and we're all smarter than we were in November, I know that we're at a crossroads with the building. The conditions of the building continue to deteriorate. February 13th, we came in to work part of the upstairs building, and it was less than 50 degrees. One of the rooftop units had gone. We just spent $10,000 from our CLOX fund to have that replaced. The mayor had asked Fire Inspector Schultz to do a walkthrough of our building, and that revealed some issues that our preliminary project estimates do not address. The estimates that I'm going to show you are approximately from 2022 to 2024. Costs have likely increased. I did invite Brian Stull from Diversified Engineering to be here tonight to help answer questions. We have been working with them for several years on seeing how we can make this work, whether piecemeal, whole meal, not at all. He is luckily on vacation, but if there's questions he can answer, he did say he would. We're also cognizant of any long-term plan for the city. And I know the mayor has a wish list, and on it is a municipal complex. So when I say we're at a crossroads, we've got a lot to think about. But as far as what we've tried to do with the building, we have worked over the years to try to make it operational and meet standards and continue to provide the services that we do. We were buried in paper, and we are required by law to keep certain case files for a certain number of years. There was space available in the basement of the police department, which we were able to get a customized filing system for $150,000. We were very fortunate to have First Federal finance that for us. And we made monthly payments for quite a long time out of special projects primarily. We were able to work with the sheriff's department because it was mutually beneficial to have a holding cell for the incarcerated offenders who appear in our court. We did not have one. They would sit in the hallway with the other court customers, sometimes victims of the crime that was alleged to have been committed. So we were able to have a segregated holding cell that the sheriff can access. They paid a certain portion of the cost, and we paid a certain portion of the cost, but that has helped with security greatly. We have a witness waiting area, which the Supreme Court said we should have. It is very inconvenient because there's a door that you walk through the witness waiting area for our employee lunchroom. If an attorney is talking to their witness and one of our clerks is having lunch, they might overhear it. It's just not a great situation, but we did try to create a designated area. We installed security doors and fobs in 2019. That again is a security measure, and it does help with building security for all employees to have the fobs. We have a security system, a camera system. That was initially because of a grant we received from the Supreme Court to get those cameras installed, and we have since had to enhance it a little bit, but that is a big Supreme Court standard to be able to, and it has frankly helped us out when incidents occur to be able to pull them up and review the incident, who instigated it, and sad to say, but good to say, we were also able to see if a incident involving an employee was caught on tape, and it was. With new flooring, drop ceilings, energy efficient lighting, primarily in the second floor. That was done in 2017. We got a $20,000 grant from the Kimball Foundation to help with the lighting on that one. Any grants that we apply for, I'm going to say locally, the mayor signs off on. I will draft it, and the mayor is just gracious and signs off on it because the legislative authority has to sign off on those. If we apply for a grant to the Supreme Court, they know we are the municipal court, and that requirement is waived. We have installed cassette heating and cooling units in probation, the lobby, the second floor to improve ventilation. To say that we have zone heating and cooling is an understatement because I don't know what it is. Depends where you're standing in the building on any given day. It's antiquated. There was a new boiler put in quite shortly after I first came along, and I think at least 2 rooftop units have been replaced, one just the other week. The new flooring on the first floor, which is now in need of replacement, and I will get to the photos of that. That's because it is decaying and is a safety hazard. Our current priorities are primarily on the first floor. The flooring is abysmal. It's pitted, it's cracking, it's a health and safety issue. I do have photos. The restrooms are on the first floor, and if we fix the floors, the restrooms have to come with it because it's the same flooring. Not to mention the fact that the restrooms are probably original to the building. I often think if a set designer was looking for a location to film a 1940s movie in a restroom with tiled walls and green partitions, and it would be a great little quick shot. It's not photogenic at all, it's well worn. The lighting and ceiling in the first floor lobby is a variety pack. Certain parts have a suspended ceiling, other parts are chipping and cracking. The witness waiting room, staff conference, and lunchroom just need completely refigured and redesigned. And our probation offices were my last priority until Captain Schultz walked through and said, "Whoa, you got a lot going on here." That was the former mayor's office, and it has been untouched and has the conduit piping on the walls. The ceilings are chipping. The baseboard heat is not working in some areas, and there are lighting issues in there as well. The current approach for our priority needs is, as I said earlier, working with Diversified Engineering to develop a measured approach to the necessary priority improvements. The running joke, and I'll say it now and probably say it at the end, and I'll quote Brian Stahl, but numerous other people, is how much more lipstick you're gonna put on the pig. And we can all say that and smile, but we do have the challenges of how we want to approach it. We do have some preliminary drawings and walkthroughs. We did have an expert evaluation of the asbestos on the flooring, and the original tile floors from the 1950 building were starting to peel up and chip. The solution in 2014 was to try and do a quick epoxy flooring to cover it. Our understanding at the time was encasing those floors would mitigate the asbestos and secure the loose tiles. That has since not been the case. So we have some serious issues there. We've also began to talk out loud about alternative locations. What does that mean? That's the one that makes me lose sleep at night, because we have not just a couple files and a microphone to move, we have a lot of security to move, IT, software, files, staff, there's a lot to that. But our first priority, the flooring, like I said, it was done in 2014. The overlay has since deteriorated, resulting in cracking and chipping. My understanding from the expert that came was moisture coming up from the floor is continuing to degrade the materials, and the subfloor will continue to deteriorate. We're using caution foldable signs as alerts for the uneven areas. We got clever the end of the year, got some steel plates from Dover Tank and Plate, and covered some of the larger areas, so they are not quite the divot that make you lose a knee. We're covering other smaller cracks with 16 large commercial floor mats. The current condition of the floor is simply a health and safety issue and a liability. But this is what it looks like with the caution signs. These are our area rugs that are difficult to clean in the winter. These are the floors. This is what it looks like if you remove the rugs. And to sweep up the chips, we just find more chips. Another photo of the flooring. And we also have the stairs going up from the main lobby, painted with a concrete paint at the same time. Those are degrading as well. Most of the door jambs look like that because the chipping just starts at any weak spot. As I said, the flooring project would beget the restroom renovation project because those floors extend to the restrooms. Our restrooms have, I don't think, ever been renovated except when we need a toilet replaced, a drain, which continues to get unplugged. They are not ADA compliant. We do not have a restroom in that building that is ADA compliant. If we had a juror in need, we would politely ask them to go down the elevator and please go next door to City Hall, down their elevator to the handicap accessible restroom. We also want to comply with the Supreme Court facility standards that require clean and modern restroom facilities for the public and court personnel. In addition to that, we were able to outsource our urine drug testing. Prior to that, our probation officers were taking individuals into these public restrooms to supervise the drug testing procedure. The floors are cracked. I'm going to try to go back to that one. This is the women's restroom on the first floor. Again, the women's restroom, that's the drain that we keep having great difficulty with. The men's restroom. Again, the men's restroom. And the lighting on the first floor is inefficient, antiquated. The bulbs and ballasts are becoming obsolete. The lobby is the first floor, is the first place that our court customers come and see. It's the first place our jurors come and see. Any court user, attorneys, out-of-town attorneys, people looking for City Hall. We get a lot of people come into our building looking for City Hall. We get a lot of people come in our building looking for the main courthouse. It would be an opportunity to improve efficiency and definitely improve the look of the lobby. This is the lighting in the lobby. As I said, we have a variety. We have some drop ceiling. We have some recessed lighting. We have some exposed bulbs. The witness rating area and staff conference and lunchroom. I've said it a couple times already, so I won't stay too long on this. But the windows are inefficient. They are inconvenient for witnesses and employees. Do not look professional. The lunchroom is unappetizing, and I don't eat there myself, but we do have several staff who do. The area could be redesigned for maximum use, but that is part of why we're here. This is the witness waiting room. You can see the door in this photo. The brown door is where the witnesses come in and our staff come in, and they walk right across to that other half door, which is where the health department used to be before they moved here. And they're sitting there waiting, or court staff are walking through. This is the lunchroom. Remnants of the health department kitchen. And the probation offices are my last priority, but that may now have to be moved based on Captain Schultz's review. They're dated, they're inefficient, they're not necessarily safe for our probation officers, because if you are in the back office and you are with a probationer and they decide, not that they've not gone through security screenings, but if they decide to become violent and launch across the desk or pick up your bookend and throw it, but none of our probation officers have bookends, they're very conscientious about what they have on their desk. By the time anyone got to that back office to help that person, could be a matter of seconds, valuable seconds. So it's not designed well for probation meetings. There are 4 separate offices and a reception area. This is one of the probation offices on the left. You can see the lighting, and some of it works, some of it doesn't. That's one of the probation windows that leaks. If you push on the base of the window, it actually moves. We were told, and I don't know this for sure, that when they were put in, they were not commercial grade windows, but residential grade windows. I don't have any authority to give you on that, it's just what I've been told. Again, the lighting, cracked ceiling. More of the probation. Estimates, again, these are from 2024, what I've been working with Brian Stoll on. They do not include additional drawings and bids. I think now that we are talking about numbers that Mr. McAbeer would have to help me know how to put them out for a bid. Project manager costs are not included, temporary relocation costs and other unknowns. The flooring would be, well, you see those amounts. The restrooms are right now a conceptual design estimate. The lighting, the witness room and conference room, and the probation offices. That's how we get to the 538, but again, it doesn't include a lot of what we need done. Other court priorities that we are using court funds to pay for are, so e-filing is now mandated by the Supreme Court of Ohio. Our deadline is July 25th of 2025. We will be applying for a grant with the Supreme Court for $81,000 in those funds. If we don't get that, we will be paying for those out of court funds. New recording system for the courtrooms. Unfortunately, a few years ago, we lost several recordings because of our outdated, kind of cobbled together recording system. We don't want that to happen again. So we're looking at a new recording system of about $50,000. These are known expenditures from court funds. Additional building needs are new entrance doors, new windows on the first floor, general maintenance. The roof continues to leak somewhere. Where? Anywhere. Depends on the day. By the ceiling tiles, we can tell, we don't know which wall it might be coming from or what let loose upstairs. This is the entrance to our doorway. The cladding is just disintegrating. There's a crack in the window. The windows or the doors, actually, some of them you have to kind of make sure you pull it shut when you are exiting the building. Oops. These are the lobby ceiling in some locations. That's one of our drips in the civil department. Again, we don't know for sure how to locate it, where it's coming from. This is at the top of the stairwell. This photo on the left is, when it rains, it's mushy. When it's dry, you can crinkle it. And there's moisture behind that wall, and we have tried, it's been just patched over the years. Going down the hallway at the bottom of the stairs is more exposed conduit. And basically, we're at a crossroads. We have a lot to think about, and especially the use of taxpayer funds, court funds, how big, what's fixable. The conditions now require likely a complete renovation of the first floor. The costs of temporary relocation. I did inquire at the mall to see if Elder Bierman was busy. That location, they have not gone back to me. They did want square footage. When the judge and I and Julie sat down to say, okay, what could that look like, even temporarily, between our security requirements, recording requirements, transportation of prisoners, file maintenance, our case management system for how we manage the cases online, our payment receipt system, it's communications, telephone, fax, email. It's a lot to think about. The cost of the project versus the age and condition of the building. It's the lipstick on a pig again, as far as how much would it cost to renovate that building to get it up to where it needs to be, and for how long would that be sustainable? How well of a job could we do to make it last another some amount of years? The crossroads and considerations continued, well aware of the allocation of limited resources, well aware that the police department is running out of space, well aware that the health department is too, and the city hall. Funding, we are not able, we don't own the building, we can't go get a mortgage. It is the city's building and this legislative body's input that we direly need to see where we go from here. We would like to collaborate with all the stakeholders to see what, I know the courtroom, a courthouse of the future now would not look like the court, even the courthouse across the street. Our needs are so much different. Storage is going to now all be electronic. We are finally getting there. So the big hallways and the big courtrooms, many of our hearings are held remotely. Those courthouses are gonna look a whole lot different than they did back in the day. Should they still show the dignity of a court of law? Yes, they should, but it's gonna look a lot different. Again, we want to collaborate on this, which is why we want to use court funds and try to build them up and use them judiciously. We know we're asking for general fund dollars on top of already our request for payroll and other items. And we know that there may be a long-term city plan for a municipal complex of some sort. So I guess the final question is, do we do anything at all, or do we just keep putting out fires? I will take any questions. That's all I have. Thank you so much for your time. I just wanted to get it out there. Yes, Marvin?
I don't know the answer to this, and this may have all been funded by the county, but back in 2006, when Brad Hilliard got that really nice courtroom built for him down there in Southern District, I'm practiced long enough that I remember going in their old building, which I think was leased off of the supermarket down there.
Right, the IGA.
And then he got this really nice building. How was that funded? How did that come about? Is that even an option for us?
Which part, Marvin?
Getting a new building like that, like the way.
County, the Southern District Court is a county court. So they are funded exclusively by the county. Similar to us, they have court funds, they have a special projects fund. My understanding, and I don't want to say too much, is that they did allow their special projects fund to build up for a certain amount of time, and they were able to use that to, I think, maybe make a monthly payment. Important to know that while we may have about 14,000 cases on a good year, sometimes more, Southern District Court usually has about 3,000 cases. They're a small court, they have a small caseload. That was largely county dollars for that, Marvin. And if the court was chipping in, I would have to go back and look at that.
All right.
Judy,
Mr. Mayor?
Back, and Marvin, back to my question about having the other court users help bear the cost, and in this case, bear the cost of, let's say, replacing the floor. Is there a way we can do that? I mean, statutorily, does the ORC give us the ability to say, look, we need to put a new floor in there, you're gonna help pay for it?
My understanding is the operating costs that they contribute are based on a breakdown of the court cases that those jurisdictions have in our court. But without answering that further,
Yeah.
I would have to go
Would-
back
would-
and
Would the two of
research.
you mind exploring that for me?
Sure.
Sure,
Yeah. Thank you.
yes.
So, I hear you're saying the smaller footprint, you know, possibly because you're not gonna need all the storage and stuff like, is there a municipality in Ohio that has a court that you guys have seen or recognized that you'll be like, yes, that's,
Julie and I, and the judge, we all belong to our respective associations, court administration, clerk, judge, and we hear about various courts building. A lot of them in about the last decade, they have been part of municipal complexes, justice centers, where, well, we also know the prosecutor's office is at the old fire station, totally inaccessible. So we know that it's not just us, but a lot of these justice centers that include, might be the police department, the prosecutor's office, the municipal court, probation office, are all in the same complex. Julie and I want to take a road trip to Cambridge. We understand they have a newer one,
Okay.
to see what that looks like. There are a lot of other small municipal courts that are in buildings like us that weren't designed to be courthouses. An extra county building or an extra city building. Southern District was in part of or leased from part of a grocery store at one time. So there's a lot of variations out there. We understand a court in Youngstown which was a larger court, renovated a old Kmart, which looked interesting, but it was like in a, and there's some units, there are some courts that are in a small building in a plaza. So,
be interesting to see how Cambridge funded theirs.
we do know that from our judge talking to their judge, their municipal court is paying about $15,000 a month from their special projects fund, which has limited their ability to hire probation officers. There's a backlash to it.
Sure.
But I don't know the whole funding mechanism down there. It's on my to-do list, actually. Ms. Ramos?
Have you guys thought for funding, local businesses, corporations, Lauren donated for the ER over at Union, something similar to that?
We have not done that yet, and there is a appearance that a court needs to maintain for impartiality, for justice for all. So it's difficult to envision, elevator courtesy of, I see it, it's,
Right. Could
but,
be explored.
yeah,
what
right.
legalities are.
Yeah, and I
Of a
I would
funding
defer to
stream?
the law director on that.
I don't know that it's appropriate for the court to solicit funds like that, but I don't see any reason why the city couldn't do that.
Like for the building and,
I don't see any reason why the city couldn't apply for grants and things of that nature to help out with the costs.
We do know that we apply for any grants we can. The ones that never come our way are capital improvement grants, because courts are not a political subdivision technically, we're part of the city. Mr. Rippeth.
First, I just want to thank you for all the hard work you brought to this to show the committee. I
My pleasure.
appreciate that very much. Enlightening for all of us, I'm sure. One thing I had from a finance standpoint was this question. Do you foresee this being something you would do in 1 year, or would it potentially cross over a couple of budgets that we could look at splitting those costs up so that we don't hit any 1 year quite so hard?
Sure. And we talk about that on a daily basis. I talk about it with Brian Stoll. How can we make this work? And it is difficult to comprehend. This is largely all first floor impact.
Right.
The lights can probably wait till last, but the restrooms, I mean, we are going to be, and with the asbestos, we've been told, you're really gonna have to leave the building.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we have to have an alternative plan then
yes.
anyway.
Yes,
But if we could spread it over 2 budget years, that makes it a little bit more palatable to get the work done as well. The question then becomes, how much money do we want to pour in the money pit?
that is the threshold question.
Yeah.
I fully agree.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? And if you think of, oh,
Is
Mr.
the
Kemp,
Is the building structurally sound?
I would have to get a structural engineer to tell you.
Because I know it seems like it's a money pit. I mean, if the building is structurally sound, we can renovate it, but if it's not.
Right.
Judy, I know I went through with Judge last Tuesday.
Yes.
If some of my fellow council members wanted to come and see it, 'cause I think that helped me a ton.
Sure.
To actually see it, can they get a hold of you? to try to
Please.
set something up?
Yes, I will give you, if it's not on the email, I already sent you my contact
Yep.
information. We'd be happy to give you a tour, put you in the holding cell, take a photo for your grandkids. But we'd be happy to show you around and show you what we're in. So we have a great staff. We have great, I sent out the annual report last week, I believe. We have a lot of good programming going on for our community. And, you know, add a boy and girl to our community because there is so much going on with the square, with the manufacturing that wants to come in, with the south side. There's a lot of super good things happening, and, you know, I know the mayor wants the, what is it, shining city on a hill? We want that too, we want the court to be up there as well,
Right.
so. But thank you so much for your time, anything we can answer if you haven't
Great.
thought of it now, just thank you.
Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
We are running up against the council meeting, so if there's nothing else that the committee wants to bring to the floor tonight, I would
Apologies.
entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We will consider ourselves an adjournment then at 7:27. My lottery winnings or something.
Yeah, you're really.
All right, this meeting of Philadelphia City Council will have come to order. Would you please rise and remain standing for the invocation and pledge of allegiance? Mr. Rippeth.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will you join me in prayer? Father God in heaven, we thank you for this day, for the many gifts and blessings of your love. We thank you, Lord, for this city and the fine residents who keep it running. We thank you for our workers, our service workers, our safety workers, the administration, the council, everybody you've put in place to make New Philadelphia the fine place that it is. And we just thank you that we live in a country where we can come together and do the people's business here tonight. We pray for your presence in our thoughts, in our discernments, and in all that we do. And may what we do here tonight bring glory and honor unto you. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you and welcome to our February the 24th council meeting. We'll start off with the roll call.
Mr. Kreinbell.
Here.
Mr. Lanzer.
Here.
Mrs. Ramos. Here. Mr. Rippett.
Here.
Mr. Sears.
Here.
Mr. Simmeling. Mr. Walker.
Here.
Let it be known that Mr. Simonic is excused from the council meeting this evening. All right, everybody's had a chance to review the agenda. Do we have any additions to the agenda tonight? Hearing none, I'd accept a motion to approve the agenda for tonight. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Need a second. Thank you, Mr. Rippeth. In discussion by administration, council, roll call.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Mr. Rippett.
Yes.
Mr. Kreinbell.
Yes.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Sears.
Yes. All right, our agenda is approved for tonight. Minutes, everybody's had a chance to review our minutes from our last council meeting. Are there any additions or corrections? All right, hearing none, entertain a motion to approve. All right, Mr. Ramos, need a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Lanzer. In discussion by administration, council, roll call.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mr. Kreinbell.
Yes.
Mr. Rippett.
Yes.
Mr. Sears.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
All right, minutes have been approved. Correspondence, Ms. Courtright.
To Clerk of Council from Treasurer Tom Gerber dated February 11th, 2025. This is the City of New Philadelphia Investment and Savings Report for January of 2025. To Council and Administration from Municipal Court Administrator Judith Ziegel dated February 19th, 2025. This is an email titled New Philadelphia Municipal Court 2024 Annual Report with the report as the attachment, and this was replied to by Auditor Heather Denham. To members of council from Mayor Day dated February 12th, 2025. This is an email titled Scheduling a Meeting with the City Health Department staff. To council and administration from City Health Commissioner Vicky Iono dated February 14th, 2025. This is an email titled Specialized Services Provided by New Philadelphia City Health Department, which was replied to by Councilwoman Ramos. And to council and administration from Mayor Day dated February 24th, 2025, the mayor's report. And that concludes correspondence for this evening, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Ms. Courtright. We're moving to our administrative reports. First up, as usual, Mayor Day.
Thank you, Mr. President, council members, fellow administrators, and guests. A couple of things I'd like to highlight from the report I sent you earlier today. Last Friday, I was informed that the New Philadelphia Advancing Our Community Together organization, otherwise known as NPAC, had been granted nonprofit 501c3 status by the Internal Revenue Service. That means the organization can now receive tax-deductible contributions. NPAC recently held a successful pancake breakfast event at Tuscarora Park to raise funds for downtown community events and activities it has planned for this year. And now as a nonprofit charitable organization, more fundraising opportunities can be created by NPAC to help fund its projects. RTY Incorporated has informed us that its board voted here recently to terminate its contract with the city to operate the youth center in the Park Place facility at Tuscarora Park. Interest in the youth center has waned over the years. RTY will now shift its full focus to operating the concessions, rides, and summer showcase at Tuscarora Park. The City Parks and Recreation Board is now exploring new ways to utilize the youth center space to produce revenue for the park. Right now, the space can be rented for family gatherings and meetings. Just contact the Park Superintendent, Adam Fulton, if you'd be interested. And also I'd like to add that, as I said in my report, I'll be attending a Washington conference for Omega here next month, and also lobbying day down in Columbus. So if you have some questions you'd like me to ask to our representatives, just email them to me. I appreciate that. That concludes my report. Any questions? Okay,
All right,
thank you.
thank you, Mayor Day. Safety Director, Mr. McAbeer.
Safety Director?
Or, Service Director.
Whoa, you're up, Greg.
I give you a new title.
He called your name, so. Thank you, Mr. President.
I'm
Good
looking
evening,
at
everyone.
you and over here, right?
Quick update on a couple things going on next week that will help us figure out some budget things. On March the 4th, next Monday, or next Tuesday, we'll have bid openings for all the material. That's our water lines, our softener salt, some of those types of things. Our blacktop will be bid out at that time, so our paving. So it'll try to get us in a line where we're gonna be with that. Also on March the 5th, we'll have Glen Drive bid openings on that. But right now, there's 6 plan holders for that, which is good. For you that have been here before, when we did phase 1, we didn't have any bids, and things were going like that. And then, actually, the prices on a couple that we did have, we bid that 3 times. So I believe with 6 plan holders, we should get a favorable product and a favorable price for us. The folks that did phase 1 would also picked up a packet for phase 2. So, and they was good to work with, so we'll see where those come out. But I'll update everybody on that on March the 10th, on what the kind of material bids came out at and so on with the Glen Drive. We'll award that too. Also, today, down at the water plant, in the morning when the guys come in, they was losing some feet on the reservoir height. So we usually look at our usual suspects. Unfortunately, it was none of our usual suspects, so we go over to the old softener building there. If anybody's been down there, it's the old block building with the old wood windows. They get down in there, they're feeling around, or not feeling around, they're hearing around with our ears, seeing where it's at. Long story short, it was in the basement where the old softener was. We was losing it all in a sewer line, so it wasn't showing anywhere. Long story short, there's a 12-inch line to the main, naturally heading to the south side. But we're good with it. Went to turn some valves. Unfortunately, you know, those valves haven't been turned for probably 40 years, 30 years. Broke. And so it's a specialty job. It's called an insertive valve. And an insertive valve is a valve you put in when it's hot. So water's running, and there's a specialized company that comes. There's about 3 in this area, or no, I'd say in the state, in the East Coast. But then finding the valve. The superintendents were able to find one in Lima. The catch is we had to get them one overnighted, so we got that from Massachusetts, because they don't want to be without one in case something like this happens. They're a real specialized item. We did dig down today, have it located, have the trench box in. They come in, put the InstaValve in tomorrow, we're fine. We got to get to tomorrow. Anything goes between now and until we get it fixed, your higher elevation areas will see a loss in pressure. So let's just make sure that that doesn't happen. But again, it's a possibility, so I want to make everybody aware of the fact that it could happen. Lose a little bit of pressure on the south side, but our elevated locations will. We sped up our feed to the towers to try to get us in our water towers to keep that foot in there. So we're doing that at the same time. But again, that should be all fixed tomorrow when we get that. They'll be in here tomorrow at 8:30. Again, we've got it, but the fact that they've got to be specialized, they'll get in there about 2.5, 3 hours, it seems like, for them to get that done. But again, we'll have that done tomorrow, so let's just keep our fingers crossed until tomorrow at 9:30. We don't need that. Also, it's been a while since I've brought up anything about the fiber I wanted to let everybody know, the latest group in now is Frontiers back in town. They pulled permits on the south side, so they're down on Springbrook a lot, southwest, southeast, all around the Colonial area right in there. And then we still have Omni and Glowfire over in the Donahue, Glen Drive, Hillcrest area. They continue to be over there. But I just wanted to give, it's been a minute since I've updated everybody on the fiber. They're not bad to work with, but I don't know that how good they are with the individuals a lot of times. And I think the worry is that, I think it's the city doing this, and you know, just realize it's not. They're an independent contractor, has nothing to do with the city of New Philadelphia. We have a permit process that they go through, and their permit spells out where they're allowed to be, you know, they're supposed to be in the right of ways, everything like that. So, but we do have the contacts of each superintendent. This latest group they work with is from Davy Tree Service. They oversee everything. It's just not a Davy Tree, so they oversee everything. Good people. If we have a problem, you guys have a problem with anybody, please get a hold of me. Josh talks to them probably 2 to 3 times a week on different things that they might start. They did start some restoration work on Friday down on East High Avenue. So they continue to start the restoration on places they've been over the winter time as it's kind of heated up a little bit. Naturally, wasn't able to move much dirt when it's froze, but now they have started some restoration work. But that's an ongoing thing. And now they're down on 3rd Street Northeast a little bit also. But again, they'll be up on Glen Drive. When I talked with the fellow from there the other day, they're up there about another 2 weeks, they think. And so, like I say, if anybody's been up there, it looks, yeah, they're doing the job, but bear with them. You'll never know they're here in about a year, but right now, I know what everybody's saying. But, and then no sooner they get out of there, we're gonna be up there, tearing up Glen Drive. So I can just about imagine how that'll go. But I just wanted to make sure that I brought that up too also tonight, because it's been a minute since I've brought any updates on the fiber in town. Any questions?
How's our salt supply? I know we're
Good.
getting towards the end of winter, but,
I was down there today, and that's another thing with, back to this salt, you know, as far as budget-wise, we've never been over 600 ton. We will be this year. We're over 1,100 ton right now, so we're almost double, and we've still got another month or so to go. But go down there and look at Salt Bowl. It's mammoth. Not a funny story. I can go down there, it wasn't enough to put enough in the back of a Volkswagen Bug one year, and I'm like, that's when I was doing that job. I was like, whoa, we're in trouble. So now I said I'd never put myself in that position, and I will not, because there's no reason for that when that Salt Bowl can hold what it does. But I did go down there before, and there was none. We was out plowing, is all we was doing. All we was doing. And then we don't need that.
Nope.
Yeah.
yes, Mr. Ramos.
Oh, since you were talking about the salt, it'll keep, right? You can, whatever we don't use
Oh,
this
yeah, I'm
year,
sure there's some of them corners that's probably been there 20 years.
That's old salt.
Yeah, yeah, you can't get back in those corners.
That's the good stuff.
Yeah, yeah, no,
As
it's,
long as it works.
yeah, no, it does, but yeah,
Okay.
yeah, some of them corners probably been there 20 years, I bet, some of that back in there,
Wow.
yeah.
Any other question for Mr. McAbeer? Yes, Mr.
I just want to thank you for how you manage that and staying on top of it. I lived in Columbus previously, and I guess I grew up spoiled here because we know how to deal with hazardous roads when it snows. And down there, I was 15 minutes from where I worked in the Rice Center, and it took 2 hours if it snowed.
The other guys do a
Because they
great
just
job,
had- they
they
just had
really
no
do,
idea,
they do a
so I
fantastic
Appreciate
job.
what all of them are doing and the way you're managing it.
Yeah, and we ended up just making some changes where other departments are out too. You know what I mean? So everybody pitches in now. The wastewater is part of it, water department's part of it,
Cemetery.
cemetery part of it, yeah. So every department, has their own little job when it snows a certain amount, park's still involved. So we get everybody involved now, just part of the, naturally, their area comes first. Then once that's done, they get out on our roads too. There's certain sections they just do. They just do.
course, now we get pothole season, right?
Yeah, right, sure is,
Yeah,
sure is,
that's-
Get rid of the salt, we got potholes.
yeah, yeah.
All right, any other questions for Mr. McAbeer?
Steve? did you-
I was just gonna ask, does the warmer weather help you with that project on the water line? Is it better?
Yeah, oh, that's gonna be a lot better for them, yeah, especially when, like I say, when they do that, it's something to see, I mean, it's just, it's on, you take, once you cut that, the water's flowing, and they fit it down in there, it's kinda neat, but you can turn the valve and close it, so as soon as they get it to seat and then close the clamps,
Yeah.
it shuts, but, yeah, it's neat to see, I've been involved in a couple of them, but
Let's hope that helps keep us from any other breaks anyplace. too.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, right, yep.
All right, thank you, Mr. McAbeer. Now we'll get to the safety director, Mr. Popham.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report this evening.
She's all right. Auditor, Mrs. Denham.
Thank you, Mr. President. I said last meeting that I was hoping to have the permanent budget completed by this meeting. Obviously, that didn't happen, and to say that I would hope to have it next meeting would be optimistic. I will get it done before it's actually due. But I've got the other projects going on. Our financial statements, we're already starting to work on those, and we've contracted with Ray again to help us with those financial statements. And I have to have everything to them, I believe by March 13th was the deadline that they gave me for that. So I need to work on that in addition to this budget. So probably not next week either, or the next meeting, we probably won't have the budget done. But in the meantime, we have been having meetings and meeting with a couple of different departments, we've got most of the budget complete. We're just down to the general fund and 2 other funds that are sharing revenue with the general fund. So, yeah, just those 3 funds that we need to tweak, and hopefully we'll have something soon.
Probably, Mr. Rippeth, we're probably gonna have a separate meeting. So I just wanted the council to be aware that we probably will have more than 2 meetings in March.
Most likely, we will have more than 2 meetings in March, yes.
Okay, just so everybody's aware, because we have to have the budget done by the end of March, so just be aware that we might have to have an extra meeting or 2, so. Any questions for Mrs. Denham? All right, thank you. Treasurer, Mr. Gruber.
Yes, I submitted my monthly investment and savings report to the clerk of courts. Of the accounts that we have, we had a gain of approximately $12,340 for the month.
All right, any questions for the treasurer? If not, Mr. Fate, Law Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm happy to report that I've got not 1, but 2 interns working in my prosecutor's office right now. That's kind of unusual for us. And the beauty of it is, neither of them are being paid by any of us, so they're all working for free. In the past, what I've done is I usually bring somebody in the summertime, and I've paid them out of my professional funds, a minimum amount, because we're really there to get the experience and to learn things. And the goal is to try to get them to come back and work for me at some point in the future. And I've had more than a few that have done that. I've also had ones that started off that way, came back, worked for me, and have gone on to bigger, better things. So the 2 that I have right now is AJ Tharp, who is our assistant fire chief's son. He has been with us for a number of years, both as a paid intern and a non-paid intern. Last year, when we had the budget issues, we did not bring somebody in because we reduced our professional funds to try and help out the budget. And but AJ, who's very innovative and a real go-getter, he managed to obtain a grant that paid him to come and work for us. So we got to utilize him last year, and he got to get that experience. He's in there right now because his law school requires him to get, I think it's 30 hours of community service. And by working for a municipal location, he's able to achieve that. And not only does he have to work for free, but he has the privilege of being able to pay the law school for those hours that he's accumulating, which everybody here who's going to college can certainly appreciate the headache that creates. But I do have a little beef to pick with him, though. I was hoping to get him to come back here. It's probably gonna be a tug of war between us and the county, to be honest with you. But it looks like what he is looking to do is go into the JAG Corps. So for those of you not familiar with that, if you ever saw A Few Good Men with Tom Cruise, that's those guys. It would be a fantastic opportunity for him. You basically graduate law school, pass the bar exam, and then you go and do your basic training at one of the branches of the military. And then you go right in and you start trying cases right off the bat. You're thrown right in. And so it's fantastic if you want to be a litigator. And it's just really sets you up to do that, have a wonderful career in the law. So if he decides that that's what he wants to do, I like to keep track of our interns and where they end up. And I'm proud to say that we have some real great alumni, and he's one of them. In fact, when his first year here, he actually wrote the grant for our victim advocate. So I really like AJ and gonna miss having him around here. The other one that I have is Olivia Miller. She is, it's Olivia but with an A. It was one of my students on my mock trial team. She's a senior that has been accepted to the Indiana University in their business and pre-law program. She was literally one of my best attorneys that I had on my mock trial team. And she's getting a crash course in how to read a fact pattern, which is what you read in law school. But in the real world, we call that reading and analyzing a police report. So she's learning how to do that. She's doing a lot of shadowing, and she's helping my office manager with a tremendous amount of work that needs done in terms of filing and things of that nature. Hopefully when she comes back later on, she'll be able to do more legal stuff. I know when we had AJ last year, once you get to your second year, you can actually go in and prosecute cases, provided myself or one of the other attorneys are in the room with them when they do everything. So that's kind of a cool opportunity. And we also had Judge Ernest's son came in and did that for us 1 year also. So that's been pretty cool. The other things that I'm working on right now is a big one that I'm working on is House Bill 315. That was a giant omnibus bill that Governor DeWine signed back in January 16th. And encompassed in that giant bill was it allowed us to charge up to $750 for providing public record requests to people that request our body cam. The body cam thing, I think, is a wonderful thing for purposes of justice. It protects our police, it protects the defendants, and it allows for a lot of openness. But it's the bane of our existence when it comes to providing public records, because we'll get like a blanket one that says, I want all of your police body cam from the last 6 months. Well, that's obviously overbroad, and I generally reject those ones. But the problem is, there's certain things that by law have to be redacted from those. So we've got police manpower going through and trying to edit out stuff in a video to provide to somebody else. And the reason the state legislature passed this was because for small municipal corporations like our own, we want our manpower to be devoted to fighting criminals, not being video editors to provide to what a lot of these are people that have podcasts and they want to get sensational video that will get them a lot of clicks. So they're looking for your typical, like a bar fight that would look good on video that they can show. And so the purpose of this was to, one, limit it to people that are very serious about what they're trying to obtain, and two, to kind of curb that so that we aren't devoting all of our manpower to being video editors. And we have a set amount of time that we're allowed to figure out how much hours it's going to take to prepare that. We can bill the person, and then until we get paid, we wouldn't have to even start the process until that point. So I think that's a good thing. I'm all for openness and public records requests, but it's taken a tremendous amount of manpower on our part in a smaller venue. And one of the things I'm working on is trying to come up with a policy on that. And it's tough going through just this omnibus bill to find out what's in it and pinpointing that. And I'm not even sure if it starts in March or if it starts in July. I think it starts in July, but I'm not entirely sure. It's something that I've been digging through, particularly pretty heavy today. And I put on the Municipal Attorney Association's website, which is all area municipal attorneys throughout Ohio. And I put on there, does anybody have a policy they've adopted for this? Within about 10 minutes, I had 20 other municipal attorneys signed up saying, I'd like to know that too. Count me in on that. So I'll wait and see what kind of hits we get on that. If not, I'll develop my own, so it's not that big a deal. The hardest thing is figuring out what's in the bill and how it applies, and then once I have that, I can extrapolate from that and put that into a policy that I can then give the officers, and that's something that I'm working with Captain Rossi on. The other thing I'm working on, I had a meeting with the fire chief today on how to dispose of our antique fire engine. I'm going to be, he's gonna be providing me some information. I also discussed this with the mayor today via text. We're looking to donate that to a museum, and there's certain prerequisites that has to be met. Based upon my conversation with the fire chief, I think we're gonna be able to accomplish that. I'll talk to you more about that once I have the legislation drafted and get it to the appropriate council committee and explain to you how we would go about doing that. But I think that's probably what's gonna happen. Is there any questions?
All right, thank you. Along Mr. Fates, so we'll move on to our board commission reports. Planning Commission, Mayor Day.
Thank you, Mr. President. The planning commission will be meeting the second Tuesday of next month at 1 PM here in council chambers.
All right. Board of Zoning Appeals, Mr. McAbeer.
Board of Zoning Appeals, thank you, Mr. President. Board of Zoning Appeals will meet March 11th at 5 PM here in council chambers. One thing I did forget I wanted to mention in my report. Early last week, I think it was Tuesday, the mayor and I was made aware of some late grant openings, the opportunity. So Friday, him and I met with Omega at the Talati Incubator. And so I know it's always, why do you get this late? Why is this? You'll see 3 of them come next council meeting. We'll need to have passed. I just want to make it aware that we haven't been sitting on them. It's not been on the shelf for 6 months, and we decided to come and need it passed. I believe it's got forwarded to Marvin, so you'll see it come out. But again, it's a late pool of money that they had. Why not go try for it? But I just want to make everybody aware, because I know typically, why am I just getting this? Well, that's why. A late bunch of money came available. We met. There was a bunch of municipalities down there, and Kent State was down there. We talked to Dean Bilski later. We ran into him, and he was down there. So it's just a late grant opportunity, and that's why you're seeing it and need passed at that time, because I believe it's the 15th of March. We have to have it back in by.
Right.
So just want to make everybody aware that just knew about it. As soon as we knew about it, you guys know about it. So.
Mr. Rumbles.
Oh, thank you. What's it for again?
We're doing some different trail things. You'll see it when the legislation comes out. There's trails, different things around the South Side Park. We have a walking trail, a trailhead out for the,
Roswell Trail.
Roswell Trail, yeah. So there's trailhead there, different things that they'll fund. Mostly everything had to do with trails and that type of thing. There'll be 3 different ones.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. Airport Commission, Mr. Lonzer.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Airport Commission will be meeting March 11th at 6 PM at the Harry Cleaver Field Meeting Room.
How's that going, meeting back out there?
It is good. It's good. Well, it's good to be down there because we could go step outside on if we have questions, which
True.
I've been on the Airport Commission for 12 years, and there's still things I don't know about the
Right.
airport, so being there helps, I think.
All right. Park Board, Mr. Sears.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I had a couple things. Should I
Sure.
stand? First time, I guess.
You don't have to stand, you can sit. or
Oh, I
whatever.
can sit? Okay, well, I'll sit then. So the park board met on February 19th. Just a couple things I found interesting, wanted to share. A gentleman, which I think many might know, his name's Josh Link, with a group called Save 22. Save 22 is a nonprofit organization that helps fight veteran and first responder suicide. So he came and spoke at the meeting, and one thing that his group is interested in doing is putting together a nonprofit fair at the park. So it would basically be they're a nonprofit and they look to draw in other nonprofits to get together and, you know, draw people in and raise money and raise awareness and things like that. So he came in front of the park board, and they're proposing, I think, June 14th, which is a Saturday. I think it's also Father's Day as well, but, so I thought that was interesting. And then, just the other thing, everybody knows about the baseball field project, Field One. They received a $15,000 grant, or $15,000 from the Rosenberry Foundation towards that project. So, that's the end of my report. They meet again on, March 19th.
All right, any questions? All right, move on to, well, Mr. Simlick's not here for the Health Board, so move into our council committee reports, finance, Mr. Rippeth.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening, the Finance Committee met here at 6:30 here in council chambers. We were given a nice presentation by the municipal court administrator on the capital needs for repairs to be done in the Muni Court building, giving us a lot of information to chew on here over the next coming days and weeks. Spent the entire time of that meeting answering questions in that regard, and we were at adjournment at, I believe, 7:28, just in time for the council meeting.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rippeth. Public Works and Economic Development, Mr. Lonzer.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
All right, zoning and annexation, Mrs. Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. President, no report.
All right, salary, Mr. Granville.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report.
All right, cemetery, Mr. Sears.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report.
All right, and contact us special, Mr. Walker.
Keep it rolling. Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
All right, floor is now open for visitors' comments. Anyone wishing to address council should rise, state your name and address, and address all comments to the chair. You will have 5 minutes. Anyone wish to address council tonight? All right, here and then we'll move on to council comments. Any councilman have any comments for this evening? All right, here and then we'll move into our legislative agenda. Miss Courtwright.
Ordinance number 1, 2025, an ordinance to repeal codified ordinances, Chapter 1339, Wind Energy Facilities, and Chapter 1333, Downtown Design Standards, and declaring an emergency, second reading.
Is there any action taken by council on this ordinance tonight? All right, hearing none, we held for our next regularly scheduled council meeting.
Ordinance number 2, 2025, an ordinance by the council of the city of New Philadelphia, Ohio, to amend Chapter 1309, building permit fees of the city of New Philadelphia codified ordinances, and declaring an emergency, second reading.
Is there any action taken by council on this ordinance tonight? All right, hearing none, it will be held for our next regularly scheduled council meeting.
Ordinance number 3, 2025, an ordinance by the council of the city of New Philadelphia directing the service director to advertise for bids and to enter into contracts with the lowest and best bidder for the city's requirements of various materials and supplies for 2025, and declaring an emergency, third reading.
Is there any action to take on this ordinance tonight? Yes, Mr. Alonso.
Yes, Mr. President, I move that we pass ordinance 3, 2025.
Do I have a second?
Second
All right, thank you, Mr. Rippeth. And discussion by the public, administration, council, roll call.
Mr. Lonzer.
Yes.
Mr. Rippeth.
Yes.
Mr. Kreinbell.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Sears?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
All right, ordinance 3, 2025 has passed.
Resolution number 19, 2024, a resolution by the council of the city of New Philadelphia, Ohio, to commend the women's Kent State Tuscarawas volleyball team on their achievements, including the first USCAA Division II National Championship in school history. Second reading.
Is there any action been taken by council on this resolution tonight? All right, hearing none, it will be held for our next regularly scheduled council meeting.
That concludes legislation for this evening, Mr.
All
President.
right, thank you, Ms. Courtwright. Is there any unfinished roll business? Any new business? Motion for adjournment.
So moved, Mr. President.
All right, we adjourned at 8:06 PM.